But let's move on to Uganda now. Let's bring another story still on Breakfast Central as we comb different parts of Africa. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni, the one who actually said doctors should start working with herbalists right now, is slated to meet members of parliament subscribing to the National Resistance Movement (NRM), the ruling party, today. Top on the agenda of the meeting is the escalating yet choking commodity prices of food commodities. This comes after media reports indicated that prices for most essential commodities had increased by almost threefold, pushing most families to compromise on their well-being. The proposed meeting today has drawn mixed reactions from members of the public.
While some members are optimistic that the long overdue meeting will indeed remedy the situation, others think otherwise. Joining us this morning to discuss further and to unravel the mystery behind what's happening in Uganda, we have the Ugandan journalist Kimono Dorcas. Many thanks for joining us, Dorcas. Now you've seen, I mean, you're in the country there, you're in Uganda. You know what's happening. You know where you feel the pinch at the moment. Can you tell us what the situation is like in the country?
Oh, thank you, my brother Joe and Oluchi, for having me this morning. Yes, when you talk about prices for commodities in Uganda, it's really a hot topic. It's a headline story because it's shocking and affecting everyone, not the rich, not the poor, but everyone. So the situation currently is like this. We have poverty level at 21% of Ugandans living before poverty line. And these are people who cannot afford, who cannot earn, or if they earn, then they cannot afford spending at least $1 in a day. They spend less than $1. Yet we're having what goods, the price is going high. We're having soap, for example. Soap used to cost us $1 3 months ago. But as we talk now, it is $2. If you don't have $2, then you're better off staying without it. I'm talking about a bar of soap, which is like 1 kilogram. So what the sellers have done is to go and reduce on the amount, on the quantity. So a bar of soap, which was a kilogram, that used to sell $1, is now selling $2. Now what they're doing is reducing on its size, and they sell you 800 grams at $2. There are those who are compromising it further. 600 grams, $2. So it's that pathetic.
Wow.
So when you compare also with the oil, the cooking oil, for us, we're not an oil company yet, not an oil country yet, but we consume oil products. Now, cooking oil, which is almost in every household, is now too expensive, and it has now been cut off to be a preserve for the rich. It's only the rich now can go and afford a liter. A liter, which used to cost us $1 maybe a month ago, is now $3. So that's how the situation is in Uganda currently.
All right. From your findings, Dorcas, what would you say are the key reasons for these hike in the price of essential commodities? What's responsible for all of this?
Joe, there's nothing that we can point at and say this is the cause, this is not the cause, because it's all confusing. You remember, well, in January, we had an issue. There was a standoff between Uganda and Kenya when, Uganda is a landlocked country. We import everything and we use mainly the Mombasa port. So there was a standoff when the government of Uganda decided to impose mandatory testing for COVID-19 on all truck drivers. Everyone, okay, but at least it was affecting mainly truck drivers. So the truck drivers had already been tested in Kenya, yet they were coming to Uganda to be tested again at their own cost. So there was a standoff when they were not agreeing to be tested and they paid. So they decided to pack and they leave traveling to Uganda. That affected the fuel prices, and when it affects the fuel price, it means everything else will be affected, because when we talk about goods, they are supposed to be transported. Even if I'm a farmer, I want to transport my farm produce from my garden to a market. So that one affected prices, and we thought maybe if the fuel price standoff is handled, maybe prices will go down. Unfortunately, after a month, this issue has been handled, but still prices are just escalating. So there's no issue, there's no one point that you can point at and say, maybe this is the cause. Because recently, even we were trying to intervene and ask the Prime Minister to explain to us what they think could be the cause. They are all thinking it's just an international issue because there has been an increase in the price of raw materials. Because in Uganda mainly imports, as I said, we import consumables, we import raw materials, even when we are doing some production in the country, mainly we import things. So she says, the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja says, maybe the price is going high because of the price that has gone high on the raw materials that we import to make these products. Currently, Uganda produces her soap, the soap we consume, and even we export to other countries around us, like South Sudan. But the problem is the cost of raw materials. So, if the cost of raw materials is high, then it means the final product will also be affected. But I think it's not only in Uganda. Why are we having these prices not the same in Tanzania? We know in Tanzania, fuel is selling less by $1 as compared to Uganda. So it's still confusing, it's still complicated, and maybe let's just wait for the meeting to tell us what they will have resolved, and maybe we know whether to move on like this or there is a remedy for us.
All right. Now, doctors, when a country is heavily dependent on imported material, it is left at the mercy of the international markets. What is the likelihood that the NRM meeting this morning will indeed remedy the situation, if at all?
Yes, to some extent, there's a hope, there is a likelihood that it might remedy the situation because there has been demonstrated willingness from the leaders, from members of parliament, from the prime minister, as I told you, Robin Anabanja, coming out openly to say government must do something. We have to meet and discuss this. We know we cannot continue like this. So there is willingness to discuss and maybe forge a way forward. But to the other extent, I think we should lose hope. We should not even bother thinking about it because this is a liberalized economy where demand determines supply, demand determines price. I mean, so if the demand is high, maybe it will affect the price. If supply is low, it will affect the price. So this is a liberalized economy. Producers, market people are determined. They set their own price for the products. So
Right.
government might come up and say, we are dictating price for fuel or for oil should go down. But the issue is, which law are you quoting to order me to reduce the price of my products I'm selling in this country? Yes, it's a liberalized economy.
All right, thank you so much, Kimono. Maybe subsidy might come into play here, but of course, you will be there to give us the latest update as it is happening in Uganda. Thanks once again for joining the program.
Thank you for having me.